Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm a journalist, author, interviewer and broadcaster. And back in 2012, I published an ebook called Bob Geldof, The Joe Jackson Interviews Plus, which I'm happy to say is still available. It includes a fragment of memoir related to Bob, who I knew to whatever degree, growing up in Dunleary, and, as he says near the end of the podcast you're about to hear, because we'd done at least one in-depth interview in 1989. It also is included in the ebook, as is the second interview from 2001, which led to Bob later complaining to my editor that I'd been, quote, a bit rough on him. Maybe I was, you decide. But it also could be said that I was simply giving as good as I got from the explosive Mr. G. Either way, the podcast is a clip from a much longer podcast I did based on this 2001 interview, and I want to set this piece apart for people who may have listened to my more recent three-part podcast based on a 1993 interview I did with Paula Yates. During the upcoming podcast, I allude to that interview by way of explaining to Geldof that my knowledge of Paula did not simply come, as he seemed to think, from reading newspapers, be they tabloids or broadsheets. Incidentally, my articles about Bob are available at my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com.
Well, why was it that total collapse, Bob? I mean, why, you know, even I remember reading in your book, I became a pop star and the legs of the world opened to me. And you were always a sensual man, you were a sex object to a lot of people. Why did it collapse? Now, how could it collapse with the leaving of one woman? I'm not even talking about specifics again. What was missing there that made it all fall in with the leaving of one woman?
Yes.
You know, why? Why had your self-image been so strong because of the other
I
ladies?
never had a big self-image. I mean, here was this beautiful girl I met before we even had our first record, and this sort of, sort of lanky, sort of loudmouth,
Southsider.
Southsider, yeah, and off we went on this wild ride together.
All right.
And so, my entire good life had been shared with this.
But was your self-image dependent on her?
Beautiful girl. What?
Was your entire self-image based on the position in the relationship?
Maybe you're right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, these are difficult questions.
You only have to look at it when it goes away. You don't have to analyse that while it's happening. But I just find the whole. I mean, I've lost love and I've lost father and I've lost, something that I think the inside gets, like you say, and I have to be teased back to sex and teased back to passion.
Yeah.
But that seems like it was an absolute psychic collapse inside.
It was.
Like your entire fucking self-image dissolved.
Well, not even self-image, my entire self dissolved.
Yeah, yourself.
But I mean, that.
But this album.
But this what you're saying is true and strikes me as being real. And why I'm hesitating is because I'm thinking about everything you're saying. I'm saying that's right. What he's saying is right. And there was something you said there that struck me as being specifically true.
Okay.
And
what was it?
I can't remember, but essentially my response to it is that all that I knew of, as I said, grace and light and joy and beauty and stuff that had happened, the good part of my life, if you like, was associated with this person because I'd shared it with them.
Okay.
So and so that went, and so you think all that goes, but utterly it changes you.
Was your own image of your own sexuality altered by the specifics of the leaving, by the person who took over, and you being mocked almost sexually publicly? Was that part of it?
Well, I wasn't aware of that because, I didn't read any stuff. I don't read any stuff about myself. So no, none of that impinged upon
it was
me.
more from him.
But when I was made aware of it, I just thought, who are you? This is so disappointing.
To be saying that.
Yeah, you're better than that.
Okay. Which is part of what comes across in the first song.
Well, that's why I say it's disappointment.
Yeah. You're better than that. You don't have to say that stuff.
Yeah, what's that? This is naff.
Yeah. But did you also feel? Was part of the inner collapse also guilt and recrimination about your fuck-ups in the marriage? It wasn't just a single line of "she left me and I'm falling apart."
No.
There was no guilt and recrimination at that level.
No.
All right. None at all.
No.
Well, do you think you were the ideal partner?
I thought we were great together.
All right. Right until she left. Even when the first signs were there, you thought it would still work out and it'd still last. we'll see our way through this.
I can't go into specifics.
I understand that. I understand. But I mean, I've read such a big fat file and you're coming over, and again, they're not tabloids. No, but I mean, I'm
But
talking
they don't know. I don't
but
talk about it. They're only speculating.
Well, you have spoken about it. You spoke about it in Marie Claire. And you spoke
What did I
about it in
speak?
some
What did I
interviews.
say?
About the way everything fell apart when she left, and this kind of.
About me?
Yeah.
I don't talk about, speculation and tittle tattle or the specifics.
I'm only asking about you, but I'm asking about how. I mean, I was reading in the Sunday Tribune a profile of you, which said, and all the stuff that we read at the time of the court case, that you were violent and broody and self-centered and stingy, right? All those images, true or false, could make a person feel it's not just his fault or her fault or their fault that it's over.
The only thing I'd
your
say
fault.
to you is that I'm not in the least bit violent.
All right.
I can't recall ever once hitting a single individual,
All right.
man or woman. And if there is anyone out there who could counterclaim that, I'd like to meet them.
Okay. Violent towards yourself, though. I mean, some people
Well, that's
see
a different thing.
the sinking into morbid depression.
No, to be specific, are you talking about physical violence?
No, well, you've thrown that out the window, so I rejected immediately
Okay.
too. No, I'm talking about withdrawal within a loving relationship, sinking into yourself.
I do sink into myself.
Some would see that as a form, not violence, as a form of cruelty, emotional cruelty.
No, honestly, I mean,
No, but I'm just asking you, the idea that a person leaves and you're saying, she left me and I fell apart. I just imagine that there's a whole lot of, and you also said that, or I have heard you say, that when Paula died, you felt guilty that you could have been there.
I didn't. Who said that?
It's in one of those articles.
Yeah, but that's-
not a tabloid.
You know, that's
All right.
absolute nonsense.
All right.
I mean, what do you mean it's not a tabloid? That makes it right.
You would assume that the
What's the difference?
Times profile will take a little, Roisin Ingle will take a little more.
Well, who the fuck? I've never heard of her. Who is she?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so like, you know, I've never met her. I don't know who she is.
Well, my assumption will be that someone who writes for some of the quality papers might be a bit more sensitive, or a bit more insightful, or quote you more accurately.
No, but you know,
So that was a quote I read, that you were filled with self-incrimination. If it's false,
absolutely not true at all.
all right, okay. So you saw there were no flaws. You didn't see any flaws within yourself in this period of self-evaluation.
I am totally flawed.
Right.
Or perennially flawed.
Right.
I've said to you, I'm melancholic by disposition. I'm sure I'm very difficult to live with. You know.
All right. I don't want you to specifics again. I know you don't want to.
About what? Why I'm difficult?
Yeah.
Because of my makeup and my personality and all that stuff. I'm sure.
Are
I
you
am.
domineering? Are you domineering daddy, husband, lover?
I don't know.
That's what you say goes, and everyone else better stand in line and go along with it.
Well, again, that's personal stuff, and I don't want to go into. And I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't want to get into bouts of. I can, deep self-analysis. I'm a strict father.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
You know, not that they pay much fucking attention to it.
All right. Okay. So Fifi couldn't come to you now and say she's going with a rock star in the back of a Daimler in Dublin, giving head.
Well, a daughter wouldn't do that to any father.
My daughter wouldn't tell.
Well, she wouldn't say that the specific, but if she was saying she was going off with a rock star, I'd say, let me put you straight about this particular profession, darling, you know.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? You would have to give that advice at this stage. But you can get it from your book, can't you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but I'm not in...
But what is it? Yeah, I know. I understand why you're reluctant to humour some of my questions, and I'm sorry if they seem.
I'm not humouring you.
They seem to be
But I
coming
mean,
from tabloid angle.
but of course it is.
But I
I mean,
want to better understand. I mean, the texture. Your album does remind me of Lennon's primal album. It reminds me of Running the Tracks. And you know, even whether you're a Dylan fan or a Lennon fan, a lot of us wanted to read what was the actual landscape that led to this artistic landscape. So
Well, I will tell you
that's
that.
more. So inside your head, I would like to know more about it. You know, and there's a lot of anger. You and I talked about before how anger fires your psyche. That's been there, and it's a motivating factor.
but even if anger didn't fire my psyche, don't you think anger would be present in the circumstances?
situation, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But anger is there.
again, I stress to you,
All right.
and if I don't want to answer some, as you know, I'll say I don't want to answer. So, and if I do, I'll be ruthlessly honest. Inside Your Head is a song of bewilderment. There is no anger directed at any of the characters or individuals involved in our story. There isn't. Anger is absolutely a useless emotion, okay? It is ultimately, once it fleetingly glances through your head, I think I said it somewhere else. So, but it's the sediment that sinks. That's it. And inside your head is absolute bewilderment at the piteous cruelty and tragedy that befell us all. And, you know, it's what the fuck is going on? Someone out there is taking the piss. Someone out there is taking the piss. Not you, not me, not that. Someone out there is seriously taking the piss. And that's what it is. I'm like,
someone being who? Sorry,
I don't know who. You know, it's that expression. You know, fucking someone's taking the piss, governor. You know, it's that English thing. You know, and it's, you know, what the fuck is going on? Are you just quoting me something from some other fucking profile about, you know, some part of the last few years where, you know, or whatever, she said this, that, and the other, you know? No, about what, you know, Paula was saying or something. And, you know, to which my response would be, what the fuck is going on inside your head, you know? And
you can put another verse on it.
You know, it's like, I didn't know that, you know, because I don't read this stuff, you know. So, okay. I mean, but that's absolutely what it is. And anger at that it happened at all, you know. I mean, you must accept that. I would tell you otherwise.
That what happened at all?
That the whole thing, that it happened like that, that it happened the way it did. What? And bewilderment at that. What the fuck's going on? And someone's fucking taking it. You know, what is this?
But who were you singing to? The Ghost of Paula and the Ghost of Hutchins?
No, not the Ghost, because Paula wasn't there when any of these songs were written, and that's important to remember.
I didn't know that. Okay.
You know, and I don't remember right.
But do you agree it's somewhat like Lennon's primal album or not?
I really hadn't thought about that. Like, you know, somebody else said, is this your blood in the tracks? Or is this, or they said, is it this generation's blood in the tracks? I said, what generation? I'm nearly fucking 50, you know? And
all right, but you know the Primal Therapy album, which is...
Well, I do.
And How Do You Sleep? As that goes of what the fuck's going on.
Oh, How Do You Sleep?
You know what I mean?
That's the dregs of Paul.
It doesn't matter who the object is, and you're.
No, but that's How Do You Sleep? That's like How Do You
Sleep at night? Yeah, you know.
You said, isn't it? You said that you said it's directed at him, and he says it is. I'm telling you, this isn't. This is, of course, like, you know, but the lines could often pertain to me in the song. Often.
But you didn't put a noose around your neck, though.
No, that does pertain. You know, what the fuck? You know, why?
Why would you do that?
That's what I say. Why?
And do you feel guilty about putting a noose around his neck? You were accused of making him do it.
But stop. But
these are the questions that people. No, I'm not.
You're the only one of all. I've just done the Guardian, the Daily Telegraph, the Sunday Times art section, Marie Claire, and the Big Issue. That's it.
You're the only one who's quoting what?
You're the only one who's coming back with other newspapers about guff, about what they speculate I'm feeling. I'm telling you what I felt.
I'm not.
The rest is speculation.
No, I interviewed Paula. I wrote an obituary for Paula. I researched her life before I wrote it.
And I bet you your research is 99% shite.
Okay, but it's as far
not
as
your
fault.
fault.
As a journalist, yeah, I admit that it was this much maybe true insight, but I still felt something, and I tried to write from that perspective.
Good, I know, that's great.
So I'm also saying that I'm not quoting a tabloid, I'm just quoting her alleged suggestion when he died that you fucking did it.
Yeah, but...
So when then people hear you with a lyric that says, why the fuck did you put a noose around?
I don't say that.
Somebody's, what the fuck is going on inside your head to make you do that? Yeah. Your fans, people who fucking care deeply for you, are going, someone has to think, or maybe I'm just an aberration on the landscape. Maybe you're part of the fucking reason, Bob. Where's the verse about that?
But that's not right.
All right.
And I won't go into why it's not right.
That you're part of the reason.
Okay, why I'm not.
Yeah. But when you were putting out these lyrics, or even singing it with Pete, did he not say, this is going to open up the whole floodgates to...
I'm well aware of that.
But you've stayed quiet since, obviously.
And I'm still staying quiet. I'm talking about what I went through.
Right. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Yeah. So when I asked you if you feel guilty...
Why would I talk about it? As I say, it's the pornography of intrusion. Who am I addressing?
But you're addressing it in the song.
No, I'm addressing myself in the songs.
Right.
This record is for me. And what you think about it, or anyone else, I really don't mind. I genuinely, honestly don't mind. There's no single on this. Really, the record makes no demands in a contemporaneous sense. It doesn't jump out of the speakers or your speakers in your car and demand you pay attention. If you wish to go into that world, no, I don't imagine why you would, of the record, then it's there for you to do that. Don't you understand the difference between something that is, it sounds Suits Corner, but forgive me, a bit of art, if you like, and something that you seek to reduce always to the empirical, because the two are inextricably divided.
They are indeed, but you have also already said that even from the start of your career, and I believe that some of your greatest songs were deeply personal, a personal impetus, and almost like diary writing, free association or whatever. Yeah. So this, to a lot of people, will be read as another musical chapter of Is That It? You can't.
No, but they're absolutely right. It cannot have sex, age, and death. It's shorthand for experience. Yeah. This can only have been in the last 6 years. I wish it wasn't. I'd love to have been able to write a different record. In other words, that this experience never happened, but it did. And so that's it. So you get that now, and the next one will be something else. All you can write about is that which you've experienced, or else what are you doing? And, it helps, of course, to see Picasso's A Woman Weeping and know that it's Dora Maar and what happened between them, because then it really becomes personal. But other than that, and I'm not equating myself in any way with the genius of Picasso, but other than that, it's a profound piece that you stare at, and because it resonates with absolute intuitive understanding of what he means. Now, hopefully, someone in Germany who has no knowledge of tabloid Bob will pick this up, and that's where, where I sell quite a lot of records, much to my dismay, still in Italy and France and Germany and fucking all that, where all they know me about is the music and look at the lyrics and say, oh, cool or uncool, whatever. What they'll get, hopefully, is an understanding and a universality that comes out of any work that you might do. So you keep saying, but I read that this person said that, but think of the circumstances.
I actually said that your book would be read as a musical coda to Is That It, another chapter. And you've said Ian Picasso or Dylan is building the tracks, and John Lennon writing about.
And I'm not in any way equating with that.
I won't do that. What I am saying, and I absolutely agree with you, that our knowledge of that painting and their relationship, Dylan and Sarah, Lennon and Paul, helps deepen an understanding of the song. But I do understand your also reluctance to furrow too deeply into the biographical context that gave.
Because every single context that you've given me has been utterly wrong. And I understand that that's not your fault, because you've read what you believe are papers of record.
I have, yeah.
And but what record? I said nothing, and there was an obvious agenda and reason for maybe other people saying things, that you must take on board in a situation like this.
All right. All right. So there was no truth in any of the stuff I kind of threw your way. To try to give our readers and myself a socio-psychological context for these songs, or whatever it is.
The socio-psychological context of these songs is what happened to me in the last 5 years.
All right.
In my head.
All right. Okay.
Or the feeling.
Was there ever another 5 years in your life like it?
No.
Was there ever another kind of... You don't want to address directly how you felt about the death of Paula, because all the songs were written, and I'm glad to clarify that, before she died.
Yes.
Have you written about her death?
No.
Did that come out? Is that one of the 7 songs that aren't included?
No, they were all done before.
Will you write about Paula's death? Be it in a song or in another volume of autobiography?
No, I respect absolutely your right to ask these questions, but they're wildly inappropriate, but no.
Why are they no, you tell me why they're wildly inappropriate. I think a lot of people would like to, with the honesty that put that book, has kids reading it in Ireland, I think there are millions of people who read it who would say, I'd love to fucking see him be as, no, let me finish, right? See him be as raw and honest and upfront, not just in what some would call vignettes, 10 slices or snapshots of poems and songs, but to do with his life in that 5 years, even if it's only to offset all that shit that I'm telling Jackson he's read.
Fine, that might be so, but this is still a higher form of talking about that.
The essences in songs?
Yeah, absolutely.
You really think that?
Yeah, I absolutely think that you would get a far better understanding intuitively of what it is. You know, you might want to read the story, but this is the story of feeling, and I know that sounds crap, but really that's what it is. I mean, because you're an empiricist, you read these things and say that must be true, and you cobble together and what you believe is a total understanding. Whereas look, you could take every tabloid paper and write a biography of me from those tabloids, okay, and I would read it, and I would probably be very interested in it, but I would not recognize 78%, except the names, of the events in that book, or the motivations, or the quotes. I wouldn't recognize them as being any part of my life because they would be utterly false. Tabloid Bob is a character who lives out there, and as a result, because he's a separate character, anything can be attributed to him or put upon him and live, which is what, of course, intuitively everyone who reads tabloids understand, because we know that they are not in any way influenced by the political judgments of the tabloids.
Talk about Hot Press, Bob.
Hot Press.
2 albums, Bob. The Bob I've talked to before, interviews with Paula. I'm not basing everything.
No, I know you're not. I'm not reflecting it onto you. Right. I'm just saying that you've a long understanding of me and specifically, and Paula somewhat, and
but I do accept your thing that's small.
It is that small. I mean, you know me enough that I don't obfuscate. I will try honestly to answer it. If I write a book like that, or if I write songs like that, I'm not about to avoid or evade questions. It's just, your question, will you write a song about Paul's bed? Well, where? How do you do that? I could write a song about the feeling of it, but you might even recognize it as being from that,
Well, I mean it in the context of saying what's unsayable.
It's not inappropriate. Well, it's not inappropriate because there would be a lot to write about, but I couldn't really write about, because it's so contemporaneous. There are too many people alive now who may be hurt or feel, by it, and some things that I actually no other characters before all this or in other events, and also there's some things which I'm various contracts or whatever I can't say about or can't do. So it wouldn't be as
contracts with publishers
or whatever, or things that I've done that I can't mention, deals or stuff that I would want to, or the negotiations for something that were peculiarly interesting, and you might know the characters are funny or what a fucker this is. I couldn't do that. I'd be sued. So I couldn't be as honest. And with regard to, the events of the last 5 years, I just wouldn't.
Right. Do you have was the settlement after the marriage broke up that you both stay silent? Did you not write a book?
No, not at all.
All right. So you're free to write it, but you just don't feel you're in a position to do so.
It's not I'm not in a position to do so. I just wouldn't.
All right.
Out of a sense of honor.
All right. Do you really feel I'm trying to get kind of tabloid headlines or something?
Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
And you're the only one.
I don't think I am, actually.
Well, you're the only one of the lot of just
brought up this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
You don't accept my belief that, the better I know about Paul and John, the more I understand the Primal album, or John and Yoko, the better I understand that. You don't believe that? Or Sarah?
I think people know. They know. They know. They know.
All right, so tell me a little more about the songs then from your perspective.
No, I will as we go through it. Go on. I mean, why are you going like this?
Oh no, my hands, because it's feeling like after the past hour.
Okay.
I'm just shielding myself from the right line. I'm looking at your eyes when you're talking to make sure I get exactly what you're saying. No, just that I don't actually mean to be going to try. I'm not trying for tabloid headlines, but I know Hot Press. We've interviewed you for nearly 20 years. When I photographed you 20 years ago. And I mean, I find the past 5 years, and the resonances that echoed in me when I listened to the album made me want to get as deep an understanding of the context. To tell you the truth, everything I'm bouncing back at you, I didn't read deliberately over the years, but I got a big fat fucking file last night. I read your book, of course. So maybe I'm too in tune with, but they weren't tabloids. There was no tabloids in my file. I got the Irish Times.
It doesn't make any difference. They can't know. All they can know is things that were, foreign agenda, my silence, and by my silence then anything can be imposed on that. It's saying that's this, that's that, because there is no comeback, and so that's what it is, and you've just got to really ignore that stuff.
Is that why you chose to be silent all these years?
Yeah.
To
I mean,
paraphrase Tori Amos, just go with your song.
all you know and all you need to know is sounds like truth is beauty, you know, and that is all you need, and that is true. And but all you need to know is that a boy and a girl were together for 19 years, and in that speaks volumes.
All right.
That speaks volumes.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I thank you for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast. And don't forget, you can get the ebook Bob Geldof, the Joe Jackson Interviews Plus from any ebook outlet. And some of my articles about Bob are available on my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com.